Hello friends, welcome back. Today we are going to go from this to this. Going to do a nice bold money piece, shadow rue, and a gorgeous pastel pink. You may remember her from episode 14. We did this last time. So this time when she came in, it's been 12 weeks. And so we have 3 months of new growth. First, I'm prepping her up with water and K18 also to keep her nice and healthy. But basically, she hates her natural. She wants it to be darker at the root. She loves the lived-in look, so she wants a bright money piece, but a darker root than her natural. Still wants pastel pink and that, bold money piece pop. So that is what we are working with. So first, I am going to section out this big old chunk right around her hairline, basically. And it's pretty thick. It goes like a couple inches. You'll see like by the ear, it goes basically to the back of the ear, but then it curves up and it's smaller as it gets to the top of her forehead. So basically, I'm only going to be lightening that area, and I am taking super fine diagonal slices and lightening those really, really fine pieces. I am not weaving, I am not teasing. We want this money piece to be really bold, and so we are just doing really close together, really thin slices. You can call them baby lights, whatever you want, but we are just slicing. So you can see how fine that section is, and then I'm going to just slice it one more time and drop that bottom part. And you can see just how fine that section is. And as always, I'm using Danger Jones lightener. I am only using a 5 volume right now. So even if she had dark hair, I would still probably use a 5 volume because it's around the hairline and that's gonna lighten pretty quickly. So you don't really need to use a very strong volume. And with Danger Jones, honestly, you get great lift with 5 and 10. I'm sure I've talked about that before, but it is so real. You can get that 9 levels of lift using 5 or 10 volume. But I am just taking those super tiny sections and slicing really thin off the top. And then doing my tri-fold with my foils so that we don't have any slipping. And I'm only hitting that new growth. So you can see her hair grows pretty fast because this is 3 months, and normally it's about like the average is like a 1/2 inch a month. So she's got about 2 inches of growth. So her hair grows pretty quickly and she's got a lot of it. But I'm just following those diagonal sections through that hairline. And you can see how fine that section is. I cannot stress that enough. If it's too thick of a section, then your foiling and your highlights, they're not gonna go close enough to the scalp. So you need it to be a really clean, straight line and a really, really fine section. And get that. But I am just going to keep following this up her hairline. Someone had asked what comb I use in the past, and I always use YS Park when I'm foiling. And for my cuts too, I just love them. They are usually like $25 or so for a comb. They're a bit pricey, but if you're a hairstylist, you know that when you're constantly soaking things in barbicide, cheap products are going to break over time. And most of my YS Park combs I've had for like over 5 years. So they are built to last. But we are going up to that top section now, and I'm doing the exact same thing. I sliced off that very first bit and it's going to go in the foil. I kind of stood in front of the camera, but you get a better angle on the other side and you can still see where I'm sectioning. But I'm doing the exact same thing here, following that hairline and then just taking really, really fine slices. No weaving, no teasing, straight to the scalp. And I'm still using my 5 volume. That's the only developer I used with my lightener for this whole process because we just did that front. Also, one thing that I hate is how the light like blasts out like right there. And I think it's because I have fluorescent lighting and I don't have any natural light in my studio. But good news, I just signed the lease for my new studio. I'm in the same address where my studio is now, but I will be moving to a window suite in 1 month. So my videos are going to have natural light soon, and I'm so excited about it. So giving you guys a heads up now, get ready for, I would say I still have to go through a lot of content, but in a couple months, you are gonna start seeing natural light in the videos, and I am pumped. And lots of plants. But moving to the other side, we are gonna do the exact same thing. Really closely follow that hairline, and I am taking those really thin slices and only getting the new growth. Doing my trifold so that we don't have any slipping. Not that I'm ever worried about that with Danger Jones, because I am telling you guys, I know I've said it before, but wherever you put that lightener, that is where it stays. It is like glue on the foil. It does not budge, and it's so awesome to not have this like watery slipping foil all the time. But I'm doing that same thing. Nice, really fine diagonal section. Paint it, saturate it real good, and close it up. I ran out of the other foils, so we went from checkers to plaid, Christmas plaid. And get that super fine section. You really want to be able to see through it because, like I said, it's not going to be close enough to the scalp if you don't have a fine enough section. And close it up, and perfect. You want those slices to be see-through. The little metal clip on the top also, if anybody is curious, it's the same brand as the comb, YS Park. Again, super high quality item, does not break even after years of being soaked in barbicide. Amazing. And no, I'm not sponsored by them. I've never gotten a single free thing from them. I just love them. But we are getting close to the end of our foiling here. I am just getting all that new growth in those really, really tiny slices because, like I said, she wants that really bold money piece. And we want the money piece to not just be like right where her forehead is. We're gonna want it to frame her entire hairline. So that way when her hair goes back, or, you know, even if she's just flipping it around, like it's gonna look so bright toward the front. And then we're gonna give her that deeper shadow root that she's wanting, because she is not a fan of her light natural color. I know a lot of people wish that they had that natural light color, but she wants to be darker. So we are gonna keep on foiling this. Now, the other thing I'm gonna say is after I get done foiling her, I am going to be doing a demi-permanent hair color on her base to deepen it. Then we will be doing the semi-permanent overlay. So a lot of people will probably wonder, why didn't you just do the semi-permanent overlay with the darker color? Why did you do the other one also? Like, why did you have to do a demi with it? And the answer there is semi-permanent hair color, because there's no like developer in there. It's a deposit only color. If you're putting it on virgin hair, it's not going to take as it's supposed to. It's not going to take as strong. It's going to fade out way faster. And that is what we do not want. So if I can use an alkaline color versus an acidic color that opens the cuticle of her hair a little bit and roughs it up slightly, then my semi-permanent color is going to actually stick to the hair. So that is what we want. That is why we have to do the couple different steps and why we can't just put semi-permanent on top of virgin hair. Now, if her hair was dark, like my natural is basically black. So as it grows out, it kind of just looks cool. I put the semi over it. It's still just a black root. But when you have a lighter root like this, sometimes it can be really frustrating because there's just like no color on this like coppery blonde, strawberry blonde hair. And then you have the pink, and yeah, a lot of people that have lighter roots really hate it. So we are going to just finish these front face frame pieces off, have that beautiful bright money piece. And now I'm going to mix up that color. So I'm going to be using Kevin Murphy instead of the Danger Jones because this is more of an alkaline color and it's going to kind of bump her base just a little bit. So I am using mostly 6.1 with just a little bit of 6.0. So 6.1 is the ash line and 6.0 is just a neutral dark blonde. So what I love about this ash line is it's really translucent. And so it's not going to be this like flat, opaque, like matte color. It's going to be really nice and blended. So it'll still look like she has highlights, which is what we want. We don't want it to just look like a super dark shadow root. That's like the last thing that we want. So I am just going to really lightly feather that shadow root down. And I'm basically taking these really small sections and then just kind of lightly feathering and getting anything that has her natural light hair that she doesn't want on there. Now, I forgot to film the other bowl, but I also mixed a bowl together of the rose toner from Kevin Murphy just to have something for it to blend into. So I am spraying it with water just so that I get a really nice blend. I'm taking really clean sections. Every section you take, you really want to make sure you're combing through it. It's not messy because you want to have a really beautiful blend. And I am just really feathering and then blending with my fingers. And then I kind of brush it down and really just feather it. You want to have that natural look. Now I'm taking my rose one and just kind of blending in the mid shaft. I'm not too worried about coloring everything because I'm going to do a semi-permanent overlay. I just want there to be like a medium to blend that shadow root into my mid shafts. Because if I just do a shadow root, even if I feather it like really good, like the best feathering job that I've ever done, I just feel like you're gonna get a better blend if you're massaging it into something else. So that is what we are doing. And I'm only using a 3.5 volume developer. So it is deposit only, but it's still going to like lift that cuticle and open it up just a little bit and change the color of her natural so that it can pick up that semi-permanent color better. And I am just making my way through. You can see I also color code my color brushes and my color bowls. So normally when it's the darker base color, I have a darker brush. And then when I'm doing my lighter color, it's a lighter brush, lighter bowl, all that good stuff. So this part I am doing her base, and then I'm coming in with my rose and melting it together. And you can see I'm combing it, I'm blending it with my fingers. You want to be a blending machine. And that little bit of water is just really going to help blend everything really nicely. And like I said, I'm taking these super clean sections and then very carefully feathering on my base color. Also, I do want to talk about how when you saw the big piece that I took out to foil, that it looks like a lot of hair and like it's going to be this crazy chunky bold money piece, but it's really not going to because I took it in that really nice diagonal section. So when you take it in that diagonal back like I did, that hair on top is going to shatter over it. And that's why in the after, it really only looks like this really nice sliver of a bright money piece. So it's not like this chunky thing. So that's really important when you get the diagonal angle, and to be cautious of the hair at the crown and how it's going to shatter over your money piece. Because if I just did like a vertical line down, then it would be super chunky. But because I have that diagonal, the hair shattering over makes it really nice and slim, and it's a really natural looking bright money piece. I mean, as natural as you can get with pink hair, I guess. But I am just making my way through here in my really nice fine sections, feathering down that shadow root. You really want to feather. I cannot stress that enough. And then coming in with that light color and blend, blend, blend. And like I said, we don't need to pull it all the way to the end. I just want something there in the middle to just blend the two together, like I said. You can already see how nice that blend is going to be. She's going to have her darker root that she wants, and everybody's going to be happy. And we're getting closer to the top here, spraying down my sections. And then very carefully, especially when I'm by the hairline, we want to feather that up and down. And really blending those two colors together. Now, if you are worried about having a harsh line when you're doing a shadow root like this, then I've definitely showed it in other videos, taking diagonal sections. So that's a really great way to kind of learn and, experiment with doing shadow roots. When you're doing diagonal sections, it's going to be really hard to get any harsh lines because hair does not fall diagonally. So it's never going to fall at an exact line how you did it. So if you're worried about making any lines in the hair, definitely do diagonal and try that out. Me, I am not worried about it. I have done this a ton of times. I know it's going to look great. So I am just feathering, and I'm kind of laying the hair down exactly how it's going to fall when she has it down. So that's how I like to see it, because I want to visualize her hair exactly how it's falling when she's wearing it, because then I can see where the shadow root is, how much of that bright she's seeing that she doesn't want, or the light, I should say, her natural color. But this way I can really see exactly where everything's falling. And then we're to our last section. Like I said, I am always brushing and keeping it really clean, getting it a little wet. And that's what she said. I'm so sorry, you guys. I literally cannot let one of those jokes go by. So just deal with me. But we are almost done here. I am just lightly feathering that beautiful shadow root because I can see exactly where her hair is going to fall and lie. I like to split it in half and make sure that everything is getting nice and covered, because we don't want to have any blotchy color at all. That's another reason that I like combing through it also. I think I use my brush comb combo in every single video, but it's just going to always guarantee that beautiful blend and that everything is super saturated. Because as much as I sound like a broken record, saturation is the most important thing when it comes to doing hair. I don't care what anybody says, whether it's sectioning or the brand you're using, saturation is the most important thing. Period. Somebody fight me on this, but we are at our last sections. There we go. And we are blending that light color down and really blending that in. I guess blending is really important too, but if you don't have good saturation, then you're not going to have a good blend, no matter how much you blend it. So there's that. But now we are all done, and I am going to be using my little bleach blender gloves to start pulling those foils and taking all that lightener off, because it'll be done processing. Now I want to show you this. I combed the hair back right there with my rat tail comb, right? Okay, just remember that. I combed that color with my rat tail comb. I had to include this in the video because I want you all to know that everybody screws up. So whenever you screw up, do not feel bad, because even I screw up and I'm doing educational friggin' videos and teaching classes. So anyway, let's get back to the foil pulls and then you will see my giant fuck up that I fixed. So I am just using my bleach blender gloves once again to pull all that lightener off. Looking beautiful. We have this gorgeous platinum blonde in our slices, and I am just pulling all that lightener off. Now, I take this beautiful section and I freaking combed it with that comb. Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, there's color on that. So I panicked immediately. Luckily, she's laughing and trusts me enough to fix it. But this is how I fixed it. I came in with my lightener and I gently feathered on the hair where there was lightener. And then I let it sit for a little bit, and then I kind of brushed it through with a clean comb, not a dirty one. But I had to do it a couple times, feathering through. You can see there's a little spot right there. And then finally it was perfect. But I just lightly feathered on the hairline and I got all of it out. I cannot believe that I colored there. But problem solved, crisis averted, we fixed it. Even I fuck up. So I am just gonna continue to pull these foils now on the other side. And we are almost done. You can really see that nice dark color that we're getting there on top. And I totally forgot to film myself mixing her semi-permanent color, but I am using Danger Jones as always. So for the base, I wanted to make a different color because I knew that it was pretty dark and we're doing a pastel pink. So I used Pavement. So Pavement is like the dark charcoal color, but I used Pavement and I mixed Hustler into the Pavement. So it was kind of like a 50-50 mix of Hustler and Pavement. And then I added some Cheap Date, which is the pastel pink that I mostly use on her hair. But that way, the color that I made for the base is actually going to cover the darker color that I put at her roots, if that makes sense. Because if I was to just put that pastel pink through everything, it would be just kind of like, meh, you know, nothing special. It wouldn't like give us the pop that we want. So because I mixed that deeper base color now to put on the roots, it's gonna look so much better. It's gonna have that smoky mauve tone at the root, and then it's gonna go down into our beautiful pastel pink. And trust me, it's gonna be gorgeous. Well, you already saw it, but anyway. So for the roots, I did that Pavement, Hustler, Cheap Date. And then for the ends, it is mostly Cheap Date. I did add just a little bit of Hustler, and then I'll add a little bit of Cyclone, which is the like really light silver one. And it just kind of ices it up a little bit. But that is what I have through the ends. And it is gorgeous. But you can see in the bowl over there, that really nice mauve tone that we get when we mix the Pavement and the Hustler together. And if you aren't familiar, Hustler is like the magenta pink, Cheap Date is pastel pink, and yes, Cyclone is like a light silver. But I am just using my favorite little brush comb combo in the whole wide world to blend those two colors together. Because even though I made, it looks dark, like dark purple, but it's not gonna be dark purple. It is that like smoky, mauvey, deep pink, and it is gorgeous. But I am just adding our little pastel pink through the mids and ends and really, really blending those two colors together. I use my fingers and I comb it through with my favorite tool. And then I like to use a really wide brush when I'm doing roots, whether it's like a regular color or semi. I love a wide brush like this because look at how much area it's covering with just that one swipe. Then when I get to my mids, that's when I have my little brush comb combo so I can blend everything together. and absolutely gorgeous. But this time we're going to be able to have the same thing as before, a really gorgeous natural grow out. So she usually is going to be coming in every 12 weeks. And so with the demi-permanent deposit only color, even though it's going to fade, it's probably still going to be a little darker the next time that she comes in, and she'll have the lighter root and then she'll have that band of darkness. So that's the only thing that I did warn her about before we did this, just so that she knows, like, hey, your natural hair is going to grow out and it's going to be lighter than what we have. Are you okay with that? And as long as your client is okay with that and you have a full-on discussion about what this is going to look like as it grows out and you're both on the same page, move forward. Because that's the only thing that I get nervous about when it's somebody who only likes to come in every few months and they want their base to be darker than their natural, then it just looks a little crazier than darker hair growing out. So make sure that they are on the same page with you and they really want that dark root and they're okay with it being darker than their natural. But now we are moving forward. I am just doing that lovely mauve tone through all the darker colors. And then I am bringing my beautiful pastel pink and running that through. Absolutely gorgeous. I also added my B3 Brazilian Bond Builder into my color. It's kind of like a similar to Olaplex. If you haven't heard of it, I like it more than Olaplex because it doesn't slow down the processing time and it doesn't dull your developer like Olaplex does. But even though there's no developer in this, you can add it into your semi-permanent color and it helps with longevity and just hair strength. So it is awesome to add to your colors. I highly recommend it, especially when I'm doing a pastel like this, because we want it to have as much life as possible. So now I'm taking my super clean section, realizing I have a little too much money piece, and then coming in with that base. But you've got a really good view here of how I'm separating that money piece, and I'm only doing that darker color over here because we want to have that pop where it's just the money piece is bright and then we have that shadow root. So we are blending that down. And then I also have her little backwards bib on because I hate a messy cape and chair. So I love those plastic backwards bibs. I use them on every single person. And we are just going to keep doing our shadow root through. You can really see that nice diagonal section. So even though it looks like a really chunky front piece, it's not going to be that way with her natural hair fall. And coming in with my pastel pink and working it through. Blend with your fingers, blend with your comb, get that color in there. You want to really work those two together. Once again, taking my super nice, clean, brushed section. I like to split it in half again, really make sure that everything's getting hit. See how there was like nothing on there? That's why it's so important to take really nice thin sections, because even if you think you're putting a lot on there and it's going through, it's probably not. So make sure that you're taking those real nice thin sections and saturate, my favorite word. So now combing through that pink. Beautiful. And we're at our last section over here. Just going to comb that pink through. Gorgeous. And then I didn't need to show too much on this side. I did the exact same thing. Just did her darker root with that mauve one, left out our money piece in that really sharp diagonal back section. And then I'm coming in and I'm barely tapping the back of the money piece. So I'm not putting it inside the money piece, but just on the very top of it. You'll see when I come around to the other side a little better. But other than that little piece on the back of it, I am just painting everything with the pastel pink. So there's no shadow root on that money piece, just the pink. Coming through. Gorgeous. And then right here you can see I'm barely tapping with that dark one. Especially on the top, I'm barely tapping it. A little bit more near the ear area, but just barely tapping it on the back of the money piece, not the front. And then coming in with my pink, and all of that is going to be pastel pink because we really want to have that bold difference, how the rest has the dark shadow root, and then we have our beautiful pastel pink at our money piece. Painting everything in. And we are almost done here. Gorgeous. Comb it through real nice. Make sure it's saturated. And then I usually come in with my towel and clean them up. And we are done. And here is our after with our beautiful shadow root. And see how nice and slim that money piece is? It doesn't look too chonky at all. It's beautiful and natural and vibrant. And she has that darker color at the root that she wanted. Had to throw in some of these ones, even though they're real size. Oh, the blend is so gorgeous. Absolutely love it. And there it is from behind, her lived-in color. Look at that blend. See how it still looks like there's highlights? That's why I love that Kevin Murphy color. It's so nice. And here's just a few pictures, but thank you guys so much. I will see you next week. Please like and subscribe for more. Bye.